Welcome to Fashionable Kanvas. This is a space where fashion, culture, and global trends intersect. Today, we turn our lens to the phenomenon of Korean skincare, exploring the brands, the underlying philosophy, and its undeniable impact on global culture, driven by the magnetic influence of K-pop idols as global ambassadors. Let's begin. Dropping the editorial voice for a second, I am so excited to welcome you all to this deep dive. Because honestly, to truly understand K-beauty, we basically have to throw out almost everything we've been taught about skincare here in the West.
Oh, completely. It's an entirely different paradigm.
Right, and our mission today is really to unpack that. We're looking at a fundamentally different philosophy of, self-care and identity. We're going to decode the specific brands that are making waves, get into the science of some pretty unusual ingredients, and of course, analyze that massive cultural crossover with the unstoppable force of K-pop.
Yeah, and I think if we look past the aesthetic packaging, right, and the marketing, what we find is not just some fleeting trend. It's not just a random assortment of serums you impulsively add to your cart. I mean, it is a comprehensive rethinking of how we treat our body's largest organ.
Let's unpack that core philosophy first, actually. Because before we even get into the specifics of, snail mucin or tiger grass, you really need to understand the fundamental mindset shift.
Mindset is everything.
It really is. The entire ecosystem of K-beauty basically boils down to three words: prevention over correction.
Which is such a stark contrast to the traditional Western approach, which is, honestly, highly reactive.
Very reactive.
Think about how most of us were taught to treat our skin. We wait for a problem to appear, right?
Yeah.
A sudden breakout, maybe the first sign of a deep wrinkle, or a patch of hyperpigmentation.
Right, and once it's there, we just go to war with it. We attack it.
Exactly. We use these harsh, highly concentrated treatments, acids, rough physical exfoliants, intense retinoids, all designed to just scrub or peel the problem away as aggressively as possible.
It's basically the dental care model, but applied really poorly. Like in K-beauty, the mindset is that you are brushing and flossing every single day to keep the tooth healthy. But the traditional Western approach is to essentially ignore the tooth until you need an expensive, painful root canal, and then you start paying attention.
That is a brilliant way to frame it, actually. Because waiting for the root canal is stressful, and it usually causes collateral damage.
Always.
K-beauty is built entirely on maintaining healthy skin from the start, so you never actually reach that crisis point. And the primary weapon in that preventative arsenal is hydration.
Always hydration first.
Exactly.
Right.
Hydration first rather than exfoliation first.
Because the ultimate goal here is achieving what the beauty world calls glass skin. Right? That incredibly dewy, luminous, almost translucent look.
Yes, the coveted glass skin.
And the secret is that you don't get glass skin by stripping your face of all its natural oils until it feels tight and squeaky clean. You get it through incredibly gentle formulations that protect the skin barrier.
Right, and to understand why that matters, we should probably visualize the skin barrier like a brick wall.
Okay, a brick wall.
Yeah, so the skin cells are the bricks, and the natural lipids, ceramides, and oils your skin produces. That's the mortar holding those things together.
Makes sense.
When you use harsh scrubs and strong astringents, you are basically blasting away the mortar. Your skin might feel clean, quote unquote, but that wall is now compromised.
So moisture just escapes.
Exactly. Moisture escapes easily, which leads to dehydration, and bacteria can enter easily, which leads to breakouts. K-beauty is obsessed with reinforcing the mortar.
So it's taking care of yourself consistently to keep the wall intact. And psychologically, I feel like this shifts skincare away from being a tedious chore or some frantic emergency response.
Oh, 100%. It turns it into a daily ritual.
Yeah, it becomes a designated moment in your day to actually slow down, breathe, and enjoy an act of self-care. It guarantees long-term results rather than relying on overnight quick fixes that just leave your face red and inflamed.
Now, the tactical execution of that hydration philosophy is where people often get intimidated. We have to talk about the famous Korean layering system.
Right, the multi-step routine. You typically start with a cleanser, then you move to a toner, then an essence, then a serum, and finally a moisturizer.
And every single one of those steps has a distinct, purposeful role.
But I have to jump in here with some skepticism. Because if I'm listening to this right now, I'm probably thinking, wait, if the goal is gentle prevention, isn't layering 5 different liquids on my face a recipe for completely overwhelming the skin?
It sounds like it would be.
Right. Not to mention, who has the time? Won't your face just feel heavy, sticky, and clogged?
It's the most common hesitation, for sure.
Yeah.
But it actually reveals a misunderstanding of how Korean formulations work versus Western ones. The secret lies in the molecular weight, and the texture of the ingredients.
Okay, break that down for us.
So in the West, we often rely on heavy occlusives. An occlusive is an ingredient like mineral oil, shea butter, or petroleum jelly that sits on top of the skin to create a physical seal. Imagine throwing a thick, heavy wool blanket over yourself. It traps heat and moisture, sure, but if you have oily or acne-prone skin, it can feel incredibly suffocating.
Ah, so layering traditional Western creams would absolutely clog your pores.
Precisely. But K-Beauty uses incredibly lightweight, watery formulations that sink directly into the skin rather than sitting on top.
So it's like wearing multiple thin, breathable, moisture-wicking layers in the winter, rather than just throwing on one massive restrictive parka.
That's exactly it.
Or, to use another analogy, it's like drinking several small glasses of water throughout the day rather than trying to chug a gallon all at once right before bed. Your body absorbs it better when it's layered incrementally.
Beautifully put. And the ingredients suspended in those watery layers are where the real innovation happens. Korean skincare champions some highly unconventional components, and the one that usually makes people stop in their tracks is snail mucin.
Snail mucin.
Yeah.
Yes, the idea of putting snail slime on your face definitely makes people do a double take.
It really does.
But the brand that has completely cornered the market on this is COSRX. They are the absolute epitome of minimalist, barrier-repairing skincare. Their whole ethos is zero fluff, just results. So how does snail mucin actually work biologically?
So snail mucin, specifically the filtrate, is packed with naturally occurring hyaluronic acid, glycoprotein enzymes, and antimicrobial peptides.
Wow.
Yeah, in nature, a snail produces this mucin to protect its underside as it scrapes across rough rocks and branches. It's an evolutionary healing mechanism.
That is fascinating.
And when applied to human skin, it does the exact same thing. It repairs the compromised mortar in our skin barrier, deeply hydrates without adding oil, and calms redness. COSRX's hero product, the Advanced Snail 96 Mucin Power Essence, is practically legendary for doing exactly this.
And they pair that beautifully with their low pH Good Morning Gel Cleanser. Actually, let's talk about pH for a second, because this is another crucial piece of the K-beauty puzzle.
It really is.
Human skin naturally sits at a slightly acidic pH, around 4.7 to 5.5. That is our acidic mantle, a microscopic layer of sweat and sebum that acts as a shield against bacteria.
Yet, so many traditional soap bars and foaming cleansers are highly alkaline, sitting at a pH of 9 or 10.
Right, which is terrible for you.
Exactly. When you wash your face with those, you completely obliterate that acidic mantle. The bacteria that cause acne actually thrive in an alkaline environment. So by using a low pH cleanser, COSRX ensures you are washing away dirt without destroying your skin's natural chemical defenses.
Okay, so COSRX handles the minimalist daily maintenance, but what happens when your skin is already angry? Like you pushed it too far, you had a terrible reaction, or your barrier is completely compromised?
That's where the brand Dr. Jart Plus enters the conversation.
Yes.
They operate at this really interesting intersection of serious dermatology and K-beauty. Dr. Jart Plus is basically the emergency intervention for highly sensitive or damaged skin.
And their foundational ingredient is Centella asiatica, right? Widely known as tiger grass.
Yes, and the history of this ingredient is fascinating. In Asia, people noticed that tigers, after being wounded in battle, would instinctively seek out patches of this specific green plant and physically roll around in it.
I just love that visual, like tigers instinctively using herbal medicine to treat their battle wounds.
It's incredible, and modern science backs it up. Centella asiatica contains active compounds called metacasosides, which actively stimulate collagen production and significantly lower inflammation.
Amazing.
Dr. Jart Plus utilizes this in their Cicapair Tiger Grass Cream. Alongside their ceramidin cream, which is packed with those ceramide lipids we mentioned earlier, these products act as a protective liquid bandage. They aggressively rebuild the skin barrier while immediately neutralizing redness.
So we have the clinical lab-focused side with COSRX and Dr. Jart Plus Arna. But what I find truly captivating is how Korean skincare transitions from the laboratory back to the landscape.
Yes, the sourcing is so important.
A massive part of this industry's success comes from integrating regional geography and historical tradition into modern formulations. It feels a bit like, farm-to-table dining, but for your face.
I love that. It is a profound respect for terroir, the specific environment where an ingredient is grown. If Dr. Jart is about clinical rescue, a brand like Laneige is about mastering the body's natural environmental rhythms. Laneige is considered the undisputed queen of hydration, specifically focusing on overnight repair.
Because while we sleep, our bodies undergo something called transepidermal water loss. Basically, as your body temperature fluctuates at night, the water inside your skin just evaporates right into the air.
Exactly. You wake up and your skin feels dull and tight. Laneige combats this with their water sleeping mask and lip sleeping mask.
Those are everywhere.
Oh yeah. These are formulated not just to add moisture, but to create a breathable, non-clogging matrix over the skin that traps the hydration in during those crucial 8 hours of the sleep cycle.
There is a visual description of Laneige that I just love. People say using their sleeping mask makes you look like you drank 3 liters of water overnight, even if you absolutely didn't.
It gives you that plump, fully saturated look.
But if Laneige is about trapping moisture while you sleep, how do these brands tackle the environmental stressors you face during the day, especially for someone who doesn't have dry skin but maybe oily or combination skin?
For daytime defense and oil regulation, we look at a brand like Innisfree. They take that environmental connection to an entirely different level by sourcing almost all of their key ingredients directly from Jeju Island.
Jeju Island.
Yes, it's a volcanic island off the coast of South Korea
Yeah.
with a remarkably pristine, nutrient-rich ecosystem.
Right. And if you have oily skin, throwing heavy creams on during the day isn't going to work. Innisfree uses their green tea seed serum for lightweight hydration. Green tea is packed with antioxidants, which essentially act like microscopic bodyguards, neutralizing the free radicals you encounter from pollution and UV rays throughout the day.
And for pore maintenance, they use the actual volcanic landscape. Their volcanic pore clay mask utilizes hardened volcanic clusters from Jeju.
Wow.
And the mechanism of clay is fascinating. It relies on capillary action. As the clay dries on your skin, it physically acts like a magnet, drawing the excess sebum and impurities out of your pores without disrupting the surrounding skin cells the way a harsh scrub would.
Farm to table, or in this case, volcano to face.
Exactly.
And if we take that appreciation for the landscape and merge it with actual historical record, we get to Beauty of Joseon. This brand has become a massive global sensation recently by bridging the past and the present.
Oh, Beauty of Joseon is incredible. They formulate based on hanbang, which is traditional Korean holistic medicine. They're actually looking at beauty regimens recorded during the Joseon dynasty, which lasted for over 5 centuries, and validating those ancient practices with modern cosmetic chemistry.
The ingredients they use are things you would honestly find in a kitchen or a natural apothecary. Like, they use rice water, which is rich in amino acids and has been used for centuries to brighten the skin, and they heavily utilize propolis.
Propolis is a fantastic example of natural engineering. It's the resinous mixture that honeybees produce by mixing their saliva with botanical saps.
So interesting.
Yeah, bees use it to seal the cracks in their hives and protect against disease. It is a phenomenal natural antibacterial and antifungal agent.
Beauty of Joseon takes that propolis and blends it with niacinamide to create their famous glow serum. And niacinamide, which is a form of vitamin B3, is a powerhouse. It works at a cellular level to inhibit the transfer of melanin to the surface of your skin, which fades dark spots, while also regulating how much oil your pores produce, making them appear smaller.
It is the perfect marriage of a centuries-old bee byproduct and cutting-edge dermatological vitamins. And I think this raises an important point about the modern consumer.
What do you mean?
Well, people globally are gravitating toward brands that actively respect these traditional roots. It cuts through the sterile clinical noise of typical beauty marketing and adds a layer of authenticity. You aren't just buying a chemical, you are buying centuries of refined wisdom.
That makes total sense. So we have covered the mindset, the biological mechanisms of the layers, the volcanic clay, the snail mucin, and the hanbang history. But here's the pivot. We have to talk about the absolute catalyst of this entire global movement.
Yes, the driving force.
Because these products, no matter how effective the propolis or the ceramides are, didn't just quietly sit on shelves in Seoul waiting for the West to organically discover them. They were propelled into the global stratosphere by an absolute cultural powerhouse, K-pop.
It is entirely impossible to analyze the rise of K-beauty without analyzing K-pop. The two are deeply, intricately intertwined. These brands realized long ago that they're no longer just selling a hydrating serum. They're selling a lifestyle, a standard of perfection, and a very specific identity.
Let's be completely real about the dynamic here. K-pop idols have the most massive, highly dedicated, and fiercely organized fan bases on the planet.
Oh, undeniably.
The parasocial relationship, that strong emotional connection between the idol and the fan, is incredibly potent. When an idol becomes a global ambassador for a skincare brand, they have the power to literally sell out a product line in a matter of hours. They don't just influence buying behavior, they dictate it on a global scale.
And the brands have utilized this to execute a brilliant luxury rebranding strategy. Take a brand like Solasu, for example.
Okay.
This is a high-end premium anti-aging brand. Their formulations are incredibly sophisticated, heavily relying on ginseng. And topically applied ginseng is a powerhouse. It dramatically boosts blood circulation to the skin, which ramps up collagen synthesis, and it is loaded with phytonutrients.
Their hero products, like the First Care Activating Serum and the Concentrated Ginseng Renewing Cream, are practically royalty in the skincare world. But to cement their status as a global luxury player that appeals to a younger international demographic, who do they bring on as their global ambassador?
Rosé.
Exactly, Rosé from Blackpink.
And by aligning with Rosé, Solasu instantly communicates that their ginseng cream isn't just a traditional product for an older demographic. It is the secret behind the modern, flawless aesthetic of one of the most famous pop stars on Earth.
And it completely proves the brand's luxury appeal. Then you look at a brand like Adora, which operates slightly differently. They are known as a very modern, edgy, fashion-forward soul beauty brand. They are famous for their UV protector tone-up and their cell essence. Carabora recently made a seismic move by naming Stray Kids Felix as a global ambassador.
That appointment is highly, highly significant. In the West, skincare and beauty marketing have traditionally been heavily gendered.
Very much so.
Appointing a male idol like Felix as the face of a brand like Hero A marks a deliberate move toward more inclusive representation. It blurs those traditional gender boundaries and signals that the pursuit of glass skin and barrier health is universal.
The ambassador rosters are just staggering. You have Rosé and Felix, you have Jennie from Blackpink, who was previously the face of Hero, and Lisa from Blackpink, who has represented major global legacy players like M Cosmetics and Shiseido.
That's a massive shift.
It is, but I have to ask a blunt question. When we look at this phenomenon, are millions of fans actually buying these $100 luxury products because they deeply care about the blood circulation benefits of ginseng or the molecular weight of a cell essence, or are they just buying a piece of Felix or Rosé?
Honestly, it is the psychology of fandom driving the initial action. Purchasing the exact same skincare product as your favorite idol allows a fan to feel a tangible connection to them.
Right.
You are participating in their daily ritual. It makes you feel like you are part of something bigger. It is an emotional, aspirational purchase. They are buying into the aura of the idol.
But the aura only lasts so long once the bottle is empty.
Precisely. And this is the vital part of the equation. The emotional purchase is ultimately validated by highly effective chemistry. A fan might buy the Solasu cream the first time because they love rosé, but they buy it a second, third, and fourth time because the ginseng actually works.
That makes a lot of sense.
The redness disappears, the skin barrier is repaired, and the hydration is undeniable.
So the pop culture magic gets you in the door, but the barrier repair keeps you in the house.
That is exactly how the ecosystem sustains itself. It relies on the cultural impact of the idols to capture global attention, but it relies on the rigorous, gentle, prevention-first formulations to retain that audience.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the cellular level of the skin barrier all the way up to the macro level of global pop culture. To bring it all home, we have to look at the final verdict from our deep dive. Is the Korean skincare phenomenon actually worth the hype, the money, and the time?
The definitive answer is yes. Absolutely.
But it comes with a major caveat. It requires consistency, it requires matching the right formulations to your specific skin type, and above all, it requires a relentless focus on hydration rather than destruction.
It is not a magic wand that works overnight. It is a commitment to a daily practice of maintenance.
And if you are listening to this right now and feeling completely overwhelmed by the thought of layering toners, snail mucin, propolis, and sleeping masks, there is a very clear beginner's blueprint. Do not stress. Do not buy 10 products today. Start incredibly simple.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. You only need 3 things to begin: a gentle low pH cleanser, a hydrating moisturizer with ceramides, and a high-quality sunscreen. That's it. Master those 3 steps. Get into the daily habit of protecting the brick wall. Once you have that foundation, you can start building from there with essences and serums.
Because the true value of understanding K-beauty isn't just about achieving the perfect translucent glass skin. It's about a fundamental shift in how we care for ourselves, which leaves us with a rather provocative thought to mull over.
Oh, I like a provocative thought. Let's hear it.
Well, if K-beauty has successfully convinced millions of people around the world to embrace a daily, gentle, multi-step ritual of self-care and prevention, how long until this prevention overcorrection mindset leaks out of our bathroom cabinets?
Oh, wow.
Right. How long until it starts fundamentally changing how we approach Western medicine, how we manage our mental health, and how we structure our daily lives?
Now, that is a thought to hold on to. Maybe instead of waiting for the root canal in every single aspect of our lives, we finally learn the value of daily brushing. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Your skin and maybe your mindset will thank you. Until next time.